The rain hammers against the windows of Castellano's, the kind of upscale restaurant where reservations are made 6 months in advance and the menu doesn't list prices. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with the scent of truffle oil and aged wine, the soft murmur of conversation punctuated by the delicate clink of crystal glasses. At the corner table, partially hidden behind a silk screen, sits Dominic Castellano, the man who owns not just this restaurant, but half the city. At 47, Dominic carries his power like a second skin. His tailored Armani suit fits perfectly across broad shoulders. His dark hair is touched with silver at the temples, giving him a distinguished air that women find irresistible and men find intimidating. Tonight, he's conducting business the way he always does, over a meal that costs more than most people earn in a week. Across from him sits Vincent Russo, a nervous real estate developer who owes him money and excuses in equal measure. "Mr. Castellano, I just need another month," Vincent stammers, his fork trembling against his plate. "The permits are taking longer than expected, but once they come through—" "Vincent," Dominic interrupts, his voice quiet but carrying the weight of absolute authority. "We had an agreement. 30 days. It's been 45. He cuts into his veal with surgical precision, the knife sliding through tender meat like butter. "I don't make exceptions. Not for anyone." Vincent's face goes pale. "Please. My family should have been your first consideration before you borrowed money you couldn't repay." Dominic dabs his mouth with a linen napkin, the gesture somehow more threatening than any raised voice could be. "You have until Friday. After that, my associates will handle the collection personally." The unspoken threat hangs in the air like smoke. Vincent nods frantically, knowing that arguing is pointless. In Dominic's world, there are only 2 types of people: those who pay their debts and those who serve as examples to others. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The conversation continues with the mechanical efficiency of a man who has had this same discussion 1,000 times before. Dominic's attention is already moving to the next problem, the next deal, the next person who needs to be reminded of their place in his carefully constructed hierarchy. His phone buzzes with updates from his various operations. 3 restaurants, 2 construction companies, a chain of dry cleaners that launders more than just clothes, and investments in businesses both legitimate and otherwise. At 47, Dominic Castellano has everything a man could want: money, power, respect born from fear, and the freedom to shape his city according to his vision. What he doesn't have, what he's convinced himself he doesn't need, is anyone who depends on him for anything beyond professional obligations. His lieutenant, Marcus, approaches the table with the silent efficiency of someone who has worked for Dominic for 15 years. Tall, built like a linebacker, with a face that has seen too many fights. Marcus leans down to whisper in his boss's ear. "Sir, there's a situation outside. Nothing serious, but you should probably know about it." Dominic's eyes narrow. "What kind of situation?" "There's a kid. Little girl, maybe 7 or 8. She's been standing across the street for the past hour, just staring at the restaurant. My guys went over to move her along, but Marcus hesitates, something flickering across his usually impassive face. "She's in pretty bad shape, boss. Real bad." "Then call social services," Dominic says dismissively, returning his attention to Vincent. "That's not our problem." "We did. They said they'd send someone, but that was 45 minutes ago." Marcus clears his throat. "Sir, that little girl hasn't eaten in 3 days. At least, that's what she told Tony when he tried to give her a few dollars for food. She wouldn't take the money, just said she was waiting." "Waiting for what?" "Waiting. For you." The words hit Dominic like a slap. He looks up sharply, studying Marcus's face for signs of a joke, but his lieutenant's expression is deadly serious. "For me?" Dominic repeats slowly. "Why would a homeless child be waiting for me?" Marcus shrugs. "She wouldn't say. Just keeps asking if you're here, if you're coming out soon. The guys are getting nervous. It's attracting attention." Dominic sets down his knife and fork with careful deliberation. Attention is something he usually controls, not something that happens to him. The idea that a child could be disrupting his carefully managed public image is both bizarre and irritating. "Show me," he says, rising from the table. Vincent starts to speak, but Dominic silences him with a raised hand. "Friday, Vincent. Don't make me repeat myself." The rain has intensified by the time Dominic steps outside, his expensive shoes clicking against the wet pavement. Across the street, illuminated by the harsh glow of a streetlight, stands the smallest, most pathetic figure he's ever seen. She can't be more than 7 years old. Her clothes are several sizes too large, hanging off her thin frame in wet, heavy folds. Dark hair is plastered to her face, and even from this distance, Dominic can see that she's shivering violently. But it's her eyes that stop him cold. Dark, enormous in her gaunt face, and filled with a determination that seems impossible for someone so young and so broken. The moment she sees him, she straightens. Despite the rain, despite the cold, despite what must be days of hunger, she stands taller. Like she's been waiting for this exact moment and refuses to let her body's weakness ruin it. Dominic crosses the street, his bodyguards flanking him automatically. Up close, the situation is even worse than Marcus described. The girl's lips are cracked and bleeding. Her bare feet are cut and bruised, covered in grime. There are dark circles under her eyes that speak of sleepless nights and constant fear. She can't weigh more than 40 pounds, and most of that seems to be the wet clothes dragging her down. "You've been asking for me," Dominic says, his voice softer than he intends. "Why?" The girl looks up at him, rain streaming down her face, mixing with what might be tears. When she speaks, her voice is barely audible over the storm. "Because my mama said you were the only person who could help us. She said if anything ever happened to her, I should find the man who owns Castellano's, the man who remembers what it's like to be hungry." The words pierce through Dominic's carefully constructed armor like a bullet through silk. Nobody knows about his childhood. Nobody knows about the years before he built his empire, when he was just another nameless kid scrounging for scraps in the same streets this girl now haunts. "Who is your mother?" he demands, his voice sharper than he means it to be. "What's her name?" "Maria," the girl whispers. "Maria Santos. She used to work in your kitchen, a long time ago. Before I was born." The name hits him like a freight train. Maria Santos. Sweet, kind Maria, who had worked as a prep cook in his first restaurant 20 years ago, who had smiled at everyone despite working 2 jobs to support her sick mother, who had asked him for nothing, demanded nothing, but had shown him a kindness he'd almost forgotten existed when he was still building his reputation, still hungry in a different way. "Where is she now?" Dominic asks, though something in the girl's expression already tells him the answer. "She died 3 weeks ago. The sickness took her." The girl's voice cracks but doesn't break. "Before she went, she made me promise. She said if I ever needed help, real help, I should find you. She said you'd remember her. She said you were a good man underneath everything else." Dominic feels something twist in his chest, an emotion he hasn't allowed himself to feel in years. Guilt. Maria had been one of the few genuinely good people he'd known in this city. She'd never asked him for favors, never tried to leverage their acquaintance for personal gain, and when she'd left his employ to care for her dying mother, he'd sent her off with a generous severance package and then never thought about her again. Now her daughter stands before him, a living consequence of his negligence. His assumption that money could solve everything, that generosity ended with a check. "What's your name?" he asks. "Sophia," she replies. "Sophia Santos." "Sophia, when did you last eat?" She thinks about this for a moment, her young face scrunched in concentration. "Sunday, I think. A lady at the church gave me half a sandwich, but I saved some for Monday, so maybe it was Monday when I ate last. It's Wednesday." The realization makes Dominic's jaw clench. This child has been surviving on half a sandwich for 3 days, and she's not even certain of the timeline because hunger has become her normal state of existence. "Sir," Marcus says quietly, "we should move inside. People are starting to notice." Dominic ignores him, his attention fixed on Sophia. "Why did you wait 3 days to find me? Why didn't you come sooner?" For the first time, Sophia's composure cracks, tears well up in her eyes, though she tries to blink them away. "Because Mama said I should only come if it was really bad, if I had no other choice. I tried to be strong. I tried to find food on my own. I didn't want to bother you because Mama said you were important, and important people don't have time for kids like me." The innocence in her explanation, the genuine belief that her starvation wasn't enough to justify asking for help, breaks something in Dominic that he didn't know could still break. He looks at this child, this tiny, brave girl who has been fighting to survive on her own because her mother taught her not to be a burden. He sees himself at that age, hungry and desperate, willing to do anything to fill the empty ache in his stomach. But unlike him, Sophia hasn't turned to theft or violence. She simply endured, believing that her suffering wasn't important enough to interrupt a stranger's dinner. "Marcus," Dominic says, his voice carrying a tone his lieutenant has never heard before, Call Dr. Reeves. Tell him I need him at my penthouse in 30 minutes. It's an emergency. Boss, are you sure? Now. The word cuts through the rain like a knife. Dominic shrugs off his jacket cashmere, worth $3,000, and drapes it over Sophia's shaking shoulders. It swallows her completely, hanging past her knees, but it's dry and warm, and he watches her instinctively burrow into it like a small animal seeking shelter. Sophia, I'm going to pick you up now. Is that okay? She nods, and when he lifts her, she weighs almost nothing. He can feel every bone in her small body through the wet clothes, can feel her heart racing like a frightened bird. She doesn't resist, doesn't question. She simply rests her head against his shoulder, with a trust that feels simultaneously like a gift and a condemnation. As Dominic carries her toward his car, he catches sight of his reflection in the restaurant window. The most feared man in the city, cradling a homeless child against his chest. His expensive suit soaking through as rain continues to pour down. His associates are staring. His bodyguards look confused. Vincent Russo watches from inside with wide eyes, probably wondering if this changes anything about his Friday deadline. But for the first time in 20 years, Dominic doesn't care what anyone thinks. All that matters is the fragile weight in his arms and the promise Maria Santos made her daughter make. The promise that her mother believed he would honor despite everything he'd become. The drive to his penthouse passes in silence. Sophia doesn't ask questions, doesn't marvel at the luxury car or the leather seats. She simply sits, wrapped in his jacket, her eyes slowly closing despite her obvious effort to stay awake. By the time they reach his building, she's unconscious, her breathing shallow but steady. Dominic's penthouse occupies the entire top floor of the Castellano Tower, a monument to his success with floor-to-ceiling windows that offer views of the entire city. The space is decorated in minimalist modern style, all clean lines, expensive art, and custom furniture. It's beautiful and cold, a showplace rather than a home. He carries Sophia directly to the guest bedroom, a space that has never been used in the 5 years he's owned this place. The bed is made with sheets that have never felt human warmth, decorated with pillows that are purely ornamental. He lays her down gently, and she doesn't wake, too exhausted to register the change from his arms to the mattress. Up close, in the soft bedroom light, Dominic can see the full extent of her condition. Her cheeks are hollow, her skin is gray with hunger and exposure. There are bruises on her arms that look suspiciously like defensive marks, and her hands are rough with calluses no child should have. But it's her face that haunts him even in sleep. There's a tension there, a readiness to wake and run if danger presents itself. Dr. Reeves arrives exactly 28 minutes after the call, carrying his medical bag and wearing the discreet expression of a physician who has treated Dominic's associates without asking questions for over a decade. But when he sees Sophia lying in the bed, something shifts in his professional demeanor. Mr. Castellano, he says quietly, this is a child. I'm aware. Can you help her? Dr. Reeves sets down his bag and begins a careful examination, his hands gentle as he checks Sophia's vital signs, her temperature, her breathing. She stirs once, whimpering, but doesn't fully wake. After 15 minutes of careful assessment, the doctor steps back, his expression grave. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, possible pneumonia developing from exposure, multiple contusions and abrasions, signs of prolonged neglect. He pauses, choosing his words carefully. Mr. Castellano, this child needs a hospital. Immediate intervention. No hospitals, Dominic says flatly. Hospitals mean questions. Questions mean social services. Social services mean she disappears into a system that will destroy whatever strength she has left. Sir, I understand your concerns, but can you treat her here? Yes or no? Dr. Reeves looks at Sophia's small form, then back at Dominic. In 15 years of working together, he's never seen his employer show personal interest in anyone beyond business relationships. The transformation is startling. Yes, he says finally, but it will require round-the-clock care for at least the first 48 hours. IV fluids, antibiotics, careful monitoring, and even then, Mr. Castellano, the malnutrition alone, she hasn't eaten properly in weeks, possibly months. Her system is shutting down. Refeeding will have to be done very carefully, or we risk refeeding syndrome, which could kill her. Then do it carefully, Dominic says. Whatever you need, whatever it costs, I don't care. She lives. That's the only outcome I'm interested in. Dr. Reeves nods slowly, recognition dawning in his eyes. This isn't a business transaction. This is personal in a way he's never seen Dominic engage with anything. I'll need supplies, specialized equipment, a nurse, at least for the first few days. Marcus will get you whatever you need. Money is no object. Discretion is mandatory. As Dr. Reeves begins making calls, Dominic stands at the window, looking out over the city he controls. Somewhere out there, Maria Santos died alone, trusting that her final instructions to her daughter would be enough. Trusting that the man she'd known 20 years ago still existed underneath the layers of power and ruthlessness. The doorbell rings at 7 the next morning, jarring in the quiet penthouse. Dominic, who hasn't slept, answers it to find a woman he's never seen before, late 20s, dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail, wearing jeans and a blazer that's seen better days. She carries a worn leather messenger bag and holds a clipboard like a shield, but it's her eyes that catch him, dark brown, intelligent, and filled with a determination that reminds him of Sophia standing in the rain. "Mr. Castellano?" Her voice is professional but carries an edge of steel underneath. "I'm Elena Martinez from Child Protective Services. I received a report that a minor child was brought to this residence yesterday evening without proper documentation or legal guardianship. I'm here to conduct a welfare check." Dominic's jaw tightens. Someone reported him, probably a neighbor who saw him carrying Sophia into the building, or maybe one of his own men who thought they were following protocol. "Miss Martinez, this isn't a good time. The child is seriously ill, which is exactly why I need to see her now." Elena's dark eyes don't waver from his face. She's terrified he can see it in the slight tremor of her hands, the way she's positioned herself at an angle for quick escape, but she's refusing to show it. "I've done my research on you, Mr. Castellano. I know your reputation. I know what you're accused of, and I know that powerful men don't suddenly take in starving children out of the goodness of their hearts. So you can either let me in voluntarily, or I can return with police and a court order within the hour. Your choice." There's something in her stance, feet planted, chin lifted despite the fear he can smell on her, that reminds him so much of Sophia's desperate bravery that it takes his breath away. This woman has walked into a predator's den armed with nothing but a clipboard and her conviction that she's doing the right thing. He steps aside. Dr. Reeves is with her now. She has severe malnutrition, dehydration, and pneumonia. We're treating her here. Why not a hospital? Elena follows him through the penthouse, and he watches her eyes catalog everything: the expensive art, the pristine surfaces, the complete absence of anything child-appropriate. She's building a case in her mind with every step, because hospitals ask questions, and questions lead to a system that would destroy what's left of her spirit. Dominic stops outside Sophia's bedroom door, his hand on the handle. "Her mother died 3 weeks ago. Maria Santos. She worked for me 20 years ago. Her dying wish was that I protect her daughter." Elena's expression shifts slightly at the mention of Maria's name, though she maintains her professional mask. "That's very convenient, Mr. Castellano. A dying woman with no other family conveniently leaves her child to one of the most powerful criminals in the city. Do you have any proof of this arrangement? You think I'm lying? I think powerful men create convenient narratives when it serves their interests." She moves past him into the bedroom, and her hardened expression cracks when she sees Sophia so small in the large bed, IV tubes running into her thin arm, her breathing shallow and labored. Oh God, this child is critical. Dr. Reeves looks up from checking Sophia's vitals, his expression neutral. "And improving? Miss Martinez. Elena Martinez, CPS." She sets down her clipboard and approaches the bed carefully, her trained eye assessing Sophia's condition with the kind of thorough attention that speaks to genuine expertise. She checks the IV setup with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what she's looking at, reads the medication labels, examines the monitoring equipment. When she turns back to Dominic, her expression is conflicted, and he finds himself cataloging details about her he shouldn't notice: the way her hair escapes her ponytail in soft waves, the intelligence in her dark eyes, the faint scar on her left hand that suggests her own history with hardship. This is quality medical care. Better than most hospitals, actually. She crosses her arms, a defensive gesture that draws his attention to how young she looks for this job, how exhausted. "But that doesn't change the fact that you have no legal right to this child, Mr. Castellano. She needs to be placed in emergency foster care while we sort out the legalities." "No." The word comes out harder than Dominic intends, and he watches Elena's posture shift immediately into fight-or-flight readiness. He forces himself to soften his tone, aware of Sophia sleeping feet away. She stays here. She's safe. She's cared for. And she's not being thrown into a system that will traumatize her further. "Mr. Castellano, I understand you think you're helping, but you don't understand anything." The words escape before he can stop them, fueled by 3 hours of watching Sophia fight for every breath. "Do you know what it's like to be hungry, Miss Martinez? Really hungry? To go days without food, to be so weak you can barely stand, to be invisible to everyone who could help you? Something flickers in Elena's eyes. Recognition, maybe, or memory, and her defensive posture softens almost imperceptibly. That's not relevant to. It's completely relevant, because I do know. I was that kid. And if Maria Santos hadn't shown me kindness when I was building my first restaurant, if she hadn't seen the hungry kid underneath the ambition, I might not have survived to become the monster you think I am. Elena studies him for a long moment, her intelligent eyes searching his face for deception. Even if your intentions are good, and that's a significant, if you're not equipped to raise a child, look at this place. She gestures at the sterile bedroom, the expensive emptiness of the penthouse beyond. It's a showroom, not a home. You're a single man with a dangerous occupation and no experience with children. How exactly do you plan to provide stability for a traumatized 7-year-old? I'll learn. Dominic hears the desperation in his own voice, and hates it. I'll hire help. I'll do whatever it takes. That's not enough. But Elena's voice has lost some of its professional edge, and he catches her glancing at Sophia with something that looks like empathy, rather than just professional concern. Mr. Castellano, I've seen dozens of cases like this. Wealthy individuals with good intentions who treat children like projects. It doesn't work. Kids need more than money. They need emotional availability, consistency, and actual safety, not just the illusion of it. Then help me. The words surprise even Dominic, but once they're out, he realizes he means them. You're right that I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that Sophia trusted her mother's judgment enough to stand in the rain for hours hoping I'd come. I know that I owe Maria Santos a debt I can never repay. And I know, he pauses, something raw opening in his chest. I know that losing this child to bureaucracy would destroy something in me that I didn't know could still be destroyed. Elena's professional armor cracks just a fraction, and in that moment, Dominic sees past the social worker to the woman underneath, someone who carries her own scars, who understands hunger and fear in ways that go beyond textbook knowledge. You really mean that, she says quietly, more statement than question. Every word. She picks up her clipboard, the gesture almost defensive, armor rebuilding itself. I'm going to file a report recommending temporary emergency placement with you, pending a full investigation. But Mr. Castellano, her dark eyes meet his without flinching, and he finds himself respecting her courage even as it complicates his life. I will be monitoring this situation closely. Weekly home visits, regular interviews with Sophia, verification of appropriate care. And if I find out you're using this child for any criminal purpose, if she's in danger in any way, I will personally ensure you never see her again. Are we clear? Crystal, good. Elena moves toward the door, then pauses, looking back at him with an expression he can't quite read. For what it's worth, Mr. Castellano, the way you looked at her just now, that wasn't the look of someone planning to exploit a child. But intentions and actions are different things. I'll be watching to see which one wins out. After she leaves, Marcus appears with his usual impeccable timing. Boss, you want me to look into her? Find some leverage in case she becomes a problem? No. Dominic surprises himself with the answer, still thinking about Elena's courage in facing him, her genuine concern for Sophia, the way her armor cracked when she saw how sick the child was. She's doing her job. She's protecting someone who needs protecting. Leave her alone. Boss, she could cause real problems for... I said leave her alone, Marcus. Dominic's voice carries an edge that makes his lieutenant back off immediately. But as he returns to Sophia's bedside, he can't stop thinking about Elena Martinez. She sees him as a threat, possibly a predator using a child for unknown purposes. The thought bothers him more than it should, awakening something he didn't expect, the desire to prove her wrong, to show her he can be more than his reputation suggests. It's a dangerous feeling for a man in his position, caring what someone thinks, wanting to be seen as something other than the monster everyone believes him to be. But as he watches Sophia sleep, fighting for every breath, he realizes that Elena Martinez might be exactly what he needs. Not just for Sophia's sake, but for his own. Someone who will hold him accountable. Someone who won't accept convenient lies or comfortable excuses. Someone brave enough to stand in his territory and demand that he be better than he is. The challenge terrifies and exhilarates him in equal measure. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything, and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Sophia's fever breaks on the second day. and with it comes consciousness that lasts longer than a few confused minutes. Elena arrives for her first official visit at precisely 9 in the morning, carrying a larger bag, this time professional assessment tools, he assumes, weapons in her war to determine if he's fit to care for a child. She's dressed more formally today, a navy blazer over a white blouse, slacks instead of jeans, but her hair is still in that practical ponytail, and she's still wearing the same worn messenger bag across her body like armor. Dominic finds himself noticing details he shouldn't. The way she moves with careful precision through his space, never turning her back to him fully, the slight shadows under her eyes that suggest she spent yesterday evening researching his criminal record, the way her hand instinctively moves to check that her phone is accessible in her jacket pocket. "How is she?" Elena asks, setting her bag on the dining table without asking permission. The casual assumption of access in his private space should irritate him. Instead, he finds it oddly refreshing someone who refuses to be intimidated by his reputation. Dr. Reeves says she's stabilizing. The antibiotics are working against the pneumonia, and we've started very careful refeeding. Dominic gestures toward Sophia's room. She's been awake for about 20 minutes. She's asking questions. Good. That's a positive sign. Elena pulls out a folder, flipping through notes. I did some digging into Maria Santos's background. She did work at your restaurant 20 years ago. Exactly as you said. She left to care for her dying mother, and you did provide a generous severance package. So that part of your story checks out. You thought I was lying. I think everyone lies when they have something to lose. Elena's dark eyes meet his directly. But I also think people occasionally tell the truth when it serves them. The question is, which one you're doing now? What would convince you I'm being honest? Time. Consistency. Watching how you interact with Sophia when you think no one's judging you. She closes the folder. Can I see her now? Alone? The protective instinct that rises in Dominic's chest is both unexpected and powerful. He doesn't want to leave Sophia alone with anyone, even especially someone whose job is to evaluate whether he's worthy of keeping her. But he also knows that resisting will only make him look guilty of something. Of course, but Miss Martinez... Elena, she corrects, surprising him. If we're going to be seeing a lot of each other over the next few months, we might as well skip the formalities. Elena, then. She's fragile, physically and emotionally. Please don't. Don't what? Scare her? Traumatize her? Make her feel like she's being interrogated? Elena's expression softens almost imperceptibly. Mr. Castellano, despite what you think of me, I'm actually very good at my job. And my job is protecting children, not terrorizing them. She disappears into Sophia's room, closing the door firmly behind her. Dominic finds himself pacing his own living room like a caged animal, straining to hear the murmur of voices through the door. Marcus watches him with barely concealed amazement. Boss, you're wearing a hole in the carpet. Shut up, Marcus. 20 minutes pass, then 30. Just when Dominic is about to break his promise and interrupt, the door opens. Elena emerges looking thoughtful, her professional mask firmly in place. But there's something different in her expression, a softness around her eyes that wasn't there before. She's remarkable, Elena says quietly, closing the folder she's been writing in. Articulate, intelligent, surprisingly well-adjusted given what she's been through. She spoke very highly of you. What did she say? That you're scary but kind. That you held her hand when she was frightened. That you promised her mother you'd protect her. And she believes you'll keep that promise. Elena pauses, studying him. She also said you cried when you thought she was sleeping. That you sat beside her bed all night counting her breaths. Dominic feels heat creep up his neck, embarrassment at being seen in such a vulnerable moment, even secondhand. She's 7 years old, Mr. Castellano. She doesn't have the capacity to make up details like that, and she has no reason to lie to protect you. Which means either you're the world's best actor, or you actually care about this child. Elena's expression shifts into something that might be the beginning of respect. I'm starting to think it might be the latter. Does that mean you'll approve the placement? It means I'm not immediately removing her, which is more than I expected when I walked in here yesterday. She slings her bag over her shoulder, preparing to leave. But Mr. Castellano, Dominic, I need you to understand something. My job isn't just to verify that Sophia has food and shelter. It's to ensure she has the emotional environment she needs to heal from profound trauma. That means stability, appropriate boundaries, and a caregiver who can model healthy relationships. I can do that. Elena's laugh is unexpected, genuine, but tinged with skepticism. Can you? Because from what I understand, your profession involves intimidation, violence, and a complete disregard for legal and ethical boundaries. How exactly do you plan to model healthy relationships when your entire life is built on fear and power? The challenge in her words should anger him. Instead, it awakens something else, a desire to prove her wrong, to show her he can be more than the sum of his worst choices. I don't know, he admits, the honesty surprising them both. But I know that I want to be better for her. That has to count for something. Elena studies him for a long moment, her intelligent eyes searching his face. It counts for something, she says finally. But wanting to be better and actually changing are two very different things. I'll be back on Friday for another assessment. In the meantime, Sophia needs age-appropriate clothes, toys, books. This penthouse needs to look like a place where a child actually lives, not a museum she's visiting. I'll take care of it. Also, she'll need to be enrolled in school once she's physically recovered. Therapy sessions to process her mother's death and her time on the streets. A pediatrician for ongoing medical care. Basically, Mr. Castellano, you need to build an entire infrastructure for raising a human being, and you need to do it while running a criminal empire that multiple law enforcement agencies are actively investigating. You make it sound impossible. I make it sound difficult, which it is. Elena moves toward the door, then pauses, her hand on the handle. But, for what it's worth, I've seen a lot of foster placements, a lot of adoptions, a lot of desperate situations, and I've never seen someone look at a child the way you looked at Sophia yesterday. Like she was the most precious thing in the world, and you'd burn the city down to keep her safe. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know yet. Elena's expression is unreadable. But I guess we're both going to find out together. After she leaves, Dominic returns to Sophia's room to find her sitting up in bed, looking more alert than she has since he found her. Her color is better, though she's still heartbreakingly thin, and her dark eyes track him as he enters. Was that the lady who decides if I get to stay? Sophia's voice is stronger now, though still raspy from the pneumonia. Her name is Elena, and yes, she's from Child Protective Services. She makes sure you're safe and well cared for. I told her you were nice, that you saved my life. Sophia fidgets with the edge of her blanket. Was that okay? I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say that. Dominic sits in the chair beside her bed, the same chair he's occupied for 2 days straight. You can always tell her the truth, Sophia. Always. Even if you think the truth might cause problems for me. But what if the truth is that I want to stay here? What if I tell her that, and she says I have to go somewhere else anyway? Sophia's eyes fill with tears. Mama said you'd protect me, but what if that lady doesn't believe you will? Then I'll prove it to her. Dominic reaches out, taking Sophia's small hand in his. However long it takes, whatever I need to do, I'll prove that you're safe here. That I can be the person your mother believed I was. Elena seems nice, Sophia says thoughtfully. Scary, but nice. Like you. The comparison makes Dominic smile despite himself. Yeah, she does seem nice. And smart. And very determined to make sure you're okay. She's pretty, too. Sophia's observation is delivered with the casual innocence of a 7-year-old. Don't you think she's pretty, Dominic? He thinks about Elena's dark eyes, her determined chin, the courage it took to walk into his territory armed with nothing but conviction. Yeah, he admits. She's pretty. Over the next 2 weeks, a pattern develops. Elena arrives every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at exactly 9 o'clock. She spends time alone with Sophia, asking questions that probe gently at the child's emotional state, her sense of safety, her adaptation to this strange new life. Then she emerges to conduct her assessment of Dominic, touring the penthouse that's slowly transforming from sterile showroom to actual home, reviewing the pediatrician reports, examining the school enrollment paperwork, and every visit, something shifts between them. The professional distance remains, but underneath it, Dominic begins to see glimpses of the woman behind the social worker facade. The way her face softens when Sophia shows her a drawing, the tired slump of her shoulders when she thinks no one's looking, the flash of anger in her eyes when she reviews reports about Sophia's time on the streets. On the 4th Friday, Elena arrives carrying coffee 2 cups from the shop across the street, both black. She hands one to Dominic without comment. A peace offering or perhaps an acknowledgement that they're in this together, whether they like it or not. Sophia's making remarkable progress, Elena says, settling into what's become her chair at the dining table. Physically, Dr. Reeves says she's gained almost 5 pounds, which is excellent. Emotionally, she seems stable, even happy. She talks about you constantly. Dominic said this. Dominic did that. Dominic promised me. Is that a problem? It's concerning. Elena takes a sip of coffee, her dark eyes thoughtful. She's attaching very quickly, which could indicate healthy bonding or could be a trauma response. She's latching onto you because you're the first stable thing she's experienced in months. If that stability disappears, it won't. You can't know that. Elena's voice is gentle but firm. Your world is inherently unstable, Dominic. People in your position face constant threats from law enforcement, from rivals, from their own organizations. How do you protect Sophia from that chaos? The same way I protect everything else that matters to me. With absolute determination and overwhelming force. That's not reassuring. It's honest. Dominic leans back, studying her. You want me to lie and say my life is safe and normal? It's not. But neither was Sophia's life before I found her. At least here, she has food, shelter, medical care, and someone who gives a damn whether she lives or dies. Elena is quiet for a long moment, her fingers drumming against her coffee cup. You're right, she says finally. Her life before was objectionably worse. But Dominic, my job requires me to think long-term. What happens in 6 months when the initial crisis has passed, and the reality of raising a child sets in? What happens when she starts asking difficult questions about what you do, who you are? What happens when she realizes that the man who saved her is also the man half the city fears? Then I'll answer her questions honestly. I'll explain that people are complicated, that we can do bad things and still be good parents, that loving someone means being better than we were yesterday, even if we're not perfect today. And you think she'll understand that? I think she already does. She's a lot smarter than either of us gives her credit for. Elena's expression shifts into something that might be admiration. You know, when I first got the call about you, I was certain this was going to be a disaster. Mafia boss takes in starving child, it had exploitation written all over it. But watching you with her, seeing how this penthouse has transformed, listening to Sophia talk about feeling safe for the first time in months, she trails off, shaking her head. I'm starting to think I might have been wrong about you. Might have been? I'm not ready to admit I was completely wrong yet. You still terrify me. But there's a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Though I'm starting to think that maybe being terrifying and being a good father aren't mutually exclusive. Progress, Dominic says dryly. Baby steps. Elena finishes her coffee, gathering her files. I'll be back Monday. And Dominic, thank you for the coffee. It's nice to not be seen as just an obstacle you need to manage. After she leaves, Marcus emerges from wherever he lurks during Elena's visits. Boss, that woman is trouble. I know. She's going to complicate things. The families are already talking about how you've gone soft, taking in a kid. Now you've got a social worker in and out of here 3 times a week. It's attracting attention. Let them talk. Dominic moves to the window, looking out over his city. And Marcus? Anyone who thinks Sophia makes me weak is welcome to test that theory. They'll learn very quickly that I'm more dangerous now that I have something to protect. But as Sophia calls for him from her room, her voice stronger now, filled with the natural excitement of a child who just discovered that her new guardian has an extensive collection of animated movies, Dominic realizes that Marcus is partially right. Elena Martinez is trouble, just not the kind he expected. She's the kind of trouble that makes him want to be better. The kind that challenges him not with violence but with questions he can't answer. The kind that looks at him and sees both the monster and the man, refusing to accept that one negates the other. It's terrifying. And for the first time in decades, Dominic feels something other than the cold satisfaction of fear and power. He feels alive. The breakthrough comes 3 weeks into their arrangement, during what should have been a routine Wednesday visit. Elena arrives at the usual time, but something is different. Her hair is down for the first time, falling in soft waves past her shoulders. There are shadows under her eyes that speak of sleepless nights, and her professional armor sits less securely than usual. Rough night? Dominic asks as he opens the door, and immediately regrets the casual intimacy of the question. They've maintained careful professional distance despite the coffee ritual that's developed, despite the way his pulse quickens when he hears her knock. Is it that obvious? Elena manages a tired smile, running a hand through her hair in a gesture that makes him notice how the morning light catches the auburn highlights he hadn't seen when it was always pulled back. I had an emergency placement at 2 a.m. 3 kids removed from a meth house. The youngest was Sophia's age. The vulnerability in her admission catches him off guard. In all their interactions, Elena has maintained perfect professional boundaries, sympathetic but distant, concerned but controlled. This glimpse behind her armor feels like a gift he hasn't earned. Coffee? He offers, and she nods gratefully. As he prepares it in the kitchen, a space that's become more familiar to him in the past month than in the 5 years he's owned this penthouse. Elena sinks into her usual chair at the dining table, with a sigh that seems to come from her bones. "How do you do it?" he asks, setting the cup in front of her. "See the worst of humanity every day and still show up believing you can make a difference?" "Same way you do, probably." Elena wraps her hands around the warm cup, seeking comfort in the heat. "I grew up in situations not that different from Sophia's. Foster care, group homes, the whole system. Someone saved me, a caseworker who refused to give up even when I was doing everything possible to push her away. I do this because I know it's possible to survive the worst and still become something good." The confession explains so much: her courage in facing him, her genuine understanding of Sophia's trauma, the way she sees past his reputation to the scared, hungry kid he used to be. "You've never mentioned that before." "Professional boundaries," Elena says with a rueful smile. "I'm not supposed to share personal information with clients, but I'm tired, and you're actually a decent listener. And," she pauses, meeting his eyes directly, "and I think we're past pretending this is a purely professional relationship." The air between them shifts, charged with acknowledgement of something they've both been carefully ignoring. Dominic sits across from her, the dining table suddenly feeling both too wide and not wide enough. "What are we then?" he asks quietly. "I don't know." Elena's honesty is disarming. "You're still technically under investigation. I'm still Sophia's caseworker, but somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as just another criminal using a child for leverage, and started seeing you as complicated." "Complicated," he repeats, the word tasting both disappointing and accurate in his mouth. Frustratingly so. There's a hint of humor in her voice now. "It would be so much easier if you were just the monster everyone says you are. But then you sit up all night counting Sophia's breaths, and you learn to braid her hair from YouTube videos, and you look at me like..." She stops, color rising in her cheeks. "Like what?" "Like I'm not just an obstacle to manage." Elena's dark eyes hold his, and Dominic sees his own confusion reflected back at him. "Like maybe you see me the same way I'm starting to see you, as a person, not just a role." Before Dominic can respond, before he can examine the dangerous territory they're entering, Sophia's voice calls from her room, bright with excitement. "Elena, you're here. Come see the picture I drew." The moment breaks, professional boundaries snapping back into place as Elena stands, composure reassembling itself. But as she passes his chair, her hand briefly touches his shoulder, a contact that lasts less than a second, but burns through the expensive fabric of his shirt like a brand. He sits in the sudden silence of the dining room, his coffee growing cold, and realizes that somewhere in the past 3 weeks, Elena Martinez has become more than Sophia's caseworker. She's become someone whose opinion matters, someone whose tired smile affects him more than any business triumph, someone he thinks about long after she leaves, wondering if she's safe, if she's eating enough, if she's thinking about him the way he's thinking about her. It's a complication he doesn't need, and one he can't seem to stop wanting. Later that evening, after Elena has left and Sophia is asleep, Dominic finds himself on his balcony, looking out over the city and thinking about complications. His phone buzzes with the usual stream of business Marcus reporting on territorial disputes, accountants flagging suspicious transactions, associates requesting meetings about problems that require his particular kind of solution. But for the first time in his career, the empire feels like background noise. What occupies his mind is a woman with tired eyes and steel in her spine, who sees past his reputation to something worth protecting. Not the organization or the power or the money, but the man who's learning to braid a little girl's hair and checking YouTube for tips on helping children process grief. "You're distracted, boss." Marcus's voice comes from the doorway, carefully neutral. "I'm thinking about the Martinez woman." It's not a question. Dominic's been careful, maintaining perfect professionalism during Elena's visits, never touching her beyond necessary handshakes, never letting his associates see how her presence affects him. But Marcus has been with him for 15 years. He knows how to read the tells that others miss. She's Sophia's caseworker. That's all. Right. Marcus's skepticism is palpable. "That's why you've asked me 3 times this week if we've confirmed her security. Why you personally vetted the neighborhood she lives in. Why you know she takes the subway home and you've been thinking about assigning someone to watch her route without her knowing. She's part of Sophia's life. That makes her someone who needs protection. Boss, you know I don't question your decisions. Haven't in 15 years. But I need to say this once: that woman is dangerous. Not because she can hurt you physically, but because she makes you care about things beyond the business. And in our world, Caring about something is the same as painting a target on it. Dominic knows Marcus is right. Has known it from the moment he realized Elena occupied more of his thoughts than strategic planning. In his world, love is leverage. Family is weakness. The moment his enemies discover he cares about someone, they'll use it against him. Antonio Vitale's recent move proved that the doll sent to Sofia's school was a message that even his daughter wasn't off limits. If they learn about Elena, if they understand she's becoming important to him. I know, he says quietly. But Marcus, I've spent 25 years building an empire based on fear. I've eliminated threats, crushed competition, accumulated more money and power than I'll ever use. And for what? To die alone in a fortress I built to keep everyone out? He turns to face his lieutenant. Sofia changed something. Elena's changing something else. Maybe it's time to risk something other than money. Marcus is quiet for a long moment, his scarred face thoughtful. If you're serious about this about her, you need to be smarter than you've ever been. No public appearances together. No paper trail. No way for anyone to know she's more than just Sofia's caseworker. We're not. Dominic struggles to articulate the undefined thing growing between him and Elena. Nothing's happened. Nothing will happen while she's technically investigating me. But you want it to. I can see it, boss. So can anyone who knows you well enough. Marcus moves to leave, then pauses. For what it's worth, she seems like good people. The kind who might actually be able to handle our world without losing herself in it. Just be careful. For all three of your sakes. The next Monday, Elena arrives with news that changes everything. The preliminary investigation is complete, she announces, settling into her chair with a thick folder. I'm recommending that Sofia remain in your custody while we begin the formal adoption process. Relief floods through Dominic so intensely it takes him a moment to speak. You're sure? As sure as I can be about anything. Elena opens the folder, showing him pages of assessments, medical reports, psychological evaluations. Sofia is thriving. Her physical health is excellent. Her emotional adjustment is remarkable. And most importantly, she feels safe. Every metric I use to evaluate placement shows this is a success. Thank you. The words feel inadequate for the gift she's giving him, but they're all he has. Don't thank me. You did this. You made your entire life revolve around one little girl's needs, and it shows. Elena's expression softens. But Dominic, this is just the beginning. Adoption is a long process, especially given your background. The court will require extensive vetting, background checks, home studies. It could take 6 months to a year. I'll do whatever it takes. I know you will. That's why I'm recommending it. She closes the folder, and when she looks up, there's something different in her eyes, a weight lifted, a boundary shifted. My official involvement is over after today. Someone else will handle the adoption proceedings. I'm closing Sofia's case. The words should be good news. They mean Sofia is safe, that the threat of removal is gone. But all Dominic can think is that this is also goodbye. With her professional obligation ended, Elena has no reason to come back. No more Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. No more coffee ritual. No more glimpses behind her armor. Oh, he manages, and hates how flat the word sounds. There is one thing, though. Elena's cheeks flush slightly. A tell he's learned means she's nervous about something. Without the professional conflict, without the ethics violation hanging over any potential interaction, she takes a breath. Sofia asked me to come to her piano recital next week. She's been practicing for a month, apparently, and she's very excited to perform. She is. She practices constantly, drives Marcus crazy with the same song over and over. Dominic feels his heart rate accelerate, understanding what Elena is really asking. You should come. She'd love that. I'd like to. Elena stands, gathering her bag, the movement bringing her closer than their usual careful distance. And after, maybe we could get dinner? Just as people. Not caseworker and client. Not guardian and investigator. Just two people who might want to know each other better. The invitation hangs between them, heavy with possibility and danger. Every logical part of Dominic's brain screams that this is a mistake, that involving Elena deeper in his life puts her at risk, that caring about her makes them both vulnerable, that mixing his world with hers will only end in disaster. But the part of him that Sofia awakened, the part that's learning to hope and trust and believe in things beyond power and fear, that part wants this more than anything he's wanted in years. Dinner sounds perfect, he says, and watches her smile transform her face from tired professional to genuinely beautiful woman. Next Thursday then, 7 o'clock? Elena moves toward the door, then turns back. And Dominic? I'm glad I was wrong about you. Not completely wrong, you're still terrifying, but wrong about what you're capable of becoming. After she leaves, Sophia appears from her room where she's been theoretically reading but definitely eavesdropping. Did Elena just ask you on a date? How much of that did you hear? All of it. These walls are thin. Sophia grins, looking more like a normal 7-year-old than the starving child he found 3 months ago. I like Elena. She's smart and nice. And she makes you smile different than other people do. How do I smile different? Like you're happy instead of just winning. Sophia's observation is uncomfortably accurate. Are you going to marry her? Sophia, we haven't even had dinner yet. But you want to, right? Marry her eventually? Sophia climbs onto the couch beside him, tucking herself against his side with the casual affection that still sometimes catches him off guard. Because I think she'd be a good mom. And I think you'd be happy if you had someone who made you smile like that all the time. Dominic wraps his arm around her, marveling at how much has changed in 3 months. This child who barely survived is now playing matchmaker, worrying about his happiness, building a family in her mind that includes both him and Elena. One step at a time, sweetheart. First the recital, then dinner, then we'll see what happens. Okay, but I'm going to practice extra hard so I play perfect at the recital. I want Elena to be impressed. Sophia pauses thoughtfully. Do you think if I play really good, she'll want to come back more often? I think Elena will come back because she cares about you. Not because of how well you play piano, but also a little bit because she likes you, right? Sophia looks up at him with those 2 wise eyes. Mama used to say that sometimes grown-ups need help figuring out they like each other. Maybe we can help. The we in that sentence, the casual assumption that they're a team working together, makes Dominic's chest tight with emotion he still doesn't know how to name. Maybe we can, he agrees. But Sophia? Even if things don't work out with Elena, you and I are still a team. Always. Okay? Okay. She snuggles closer. But they're going to work out. I can tell. She looks at you the same way you look at her, like she's scared and excited at the same time. Out of the mouths of babes. Indeed. The week until the recital passes in a blur of activity. Sophia practices her piece obsessively, a simplified version of Beethoven's Für Elise that her piano teacher says is advanced for her age and skill level. Dominic finds himself looking forward to Thursday with an anticipation that has nothing to do with business, and everything to do with the promise of seeing Elena outside their carefully maintained professional boundaries. He's also aware, with the paranoia that's kept him alive this long, that Thursday represents a vulnerability. Antonio Vitale is in federal prison awaiting trial, but his organization is still active, still nursing grudges. Other families watch Dominic's every move, looking for weaknesses. The fact that he's taken in Sophia is already public knowledge. If he's seen with Elena in a romantic context, it becomes another piece of leverage his enemies can use. Which is why, when Thursday arrives, he has Marcus arrange a private dining room at a restaurant he owns, with security measures that would rival a presidential visit. Elena will be safe. Sophia will be safe. He'll make sure of it. The recital is held at Sophia's new private school, in an auditorium that's nicer than many concert halls. Dominic sits in the 3rd row, surrounded by other parents who give him a wide berth. His reputation precedes him even here. But when Elena slips into the seat beside him 5 minutes before the performance starts, she doesn't hesitate or maintain careful distance. She sits close enough that her shoulder brushes his, close enough that he can smell her perfume, something subtle and floral that doesn't match the professional armor she usually wears. Sorry I'm late. Emergency at work. She's dressed differently tonight, a soft blue dress instead of her usual blazer and slacks. Her hair styled in loose curls. Makeup applied with a gentle hand that enhances rather than hides. She looks beautiful in a way that makes his chest tight. You're here. That's what matters. Dominic is hyper-aware of every point where their bodies touch: shoulder, arm, the way her knee occasionally bumps his when she shifts in her seat. How nervous is she? Elena asks quietly as the lights begin to dim. Terrified. Excited. She threw up twice this morning from nerves but refused to back out. That's our girl. Brave even when she's scared. The casual "our" slips out so naturally that Dominic doesn't think Elena even realizes she said it, but he hears it. Feels it settle around them like a promise of something they haven't defined yet but both recognize. When Sophia takes the stage, tiny in her purple dress, hair carefully braided by Dominic that morning after watching 3 more YouTube tutorials, she scans the audience until she finds them. Her face lights up when she sees both of them sitting together, and she waves with unself-conscious joy before settling onto the piano bench. The performance is far from perfect. Sophia hits several wrong notes, loses her place once and has to restart a section, rushes through the parts she knows best. But she plays with such earnest concentration, such obvious love for the music, that the technical flaws don't matter. When she finishes, standing to take her bow with flushed cheeks and shining eyes, Dominic and Elena are on their feet applauding before anyone else. Backstage afterward, Sophia launches herself at both of them with equal enthusiasm, chattering about the mistakes she made and the parts that went right and did they see when she almost forgot that one section but remembered just in time. "You were magnificent," Elena says, kneeling to Sophia's eye level. "I'm so proud of you. You're coming to dinner with us, right?" "Dad said you were." Sophia looks between them with hopeful eyes. "If that's still okay," Elena says, directing the question at Dominic. "More than okay. I have a car waiting." The drive to the restaurant is filled with Sophia's excited chatter, giving Dominic and Elena cover to avoid discussing the shift that's happening between them. But in the back seat of his car, Elena's hand rests on the seat between them, and when Sophia is distracted by something outside the window, Dominic's fingers brush against hers. The contact is brief, barely noticeable, but Elena's hand turns slightly, her palm opening an invitation. He takes it, threading their fingers together beneath Sophia's notice, and feels something settle in his chest that's been restless for months. The restaurant's private dining room offers them privacy without isolation, elegant without being ostentatious, comfortable without being casual. Sophia orders pasta with enthusiasm, and for the first hour, their conversation is carefully neutral. School, piano lessons, Sophia's upcoming birthday party that's being planned with the same strategic precision Dominic usually reserves for business operations. But eventually, Sophia's exhaustion from the recital catches up with her. She curls up on the leather booth beside Dominic, her head resting against his arm, fighting sleep but clearly losing the battle. "She's had a big day," Elena says softly, watching Sophia's eyes drift closed despite her mumbled protests that she's not tired. "She's been practicing for weeks. I think the relief that it's over is hitting her." Dominic shifts carefully, letting Sophia settle more comfortably against him. "Thank you for coming. It meant a lot to her. It meant a lot to me too." Elena sets down her wine glass, her expression serious. "Dominic, I need to be honest with you about something." His body tenses instinctively at those words, trained by years of betrayals to expect the worst. "I've been fighting this attraction since the first week I met you," Elena continues, her dark eyes steady on his. "I told myself it was inappropriate, that you were dangerous, that getting involved with you would be the stupidest thing I could possibly do. And you know what? All of those things are true. You are inappropriate. You are dangerous. Getting involved with you probably is the stupidest thing I could do. But," Dominic prompts, his voice low to avoid waking Sophia, "but I can't stop thinking about you. About how you look at Sophia like she hung the moon. About how you've transformed your entire life around one little girl's needs. About how you make me laugh and challenge me and see me as more than just my job title." Elena's cheeks flush, but she doesn't look away. "And I'm tired of pretending I don't feel this way. So I'm telling you, here and now, that I'm interested. In you, in this, in seeing where this could go. But I need to know if you feel the same way, because I'm not going to be someone's casual interest or temporary distraction." The directness of her confession, the courage it takes to lay herself bare like this, reminds Dominic of why he's drawn to her in the first place. Elena Martinez doesn't do anything halfway, not her job, not her emotions, not her honesty. "I feel the same way," he says quietly. "More than is probably wise, given my circumstances. But Elena, you need to understand what you're signing up for. My world isn't safe. My enemies will see you as leverage the moment they understand you matter to me. Dating me means living with security measures, with constant awareness of threats, with the knowledge that people might try to hurt you to get to me. I know." Elena's hand reaches across the table, covering his. "I've done my research, Dominic. I know exactly who you are, what you've done, what you're capable of, and I'm still here. That should tell you something. It tells me you're either very brave or very foolish. Can't I be both?" Her smile is wry. "Look, I'm not naive. I know this won't be easy. But I also know that what I feel when I'm with you, what I see when I watch you with Sophia, that's worth fighting for. Worth the risk." Dominic looks down at Sophia, sleeping against his arm, then back at Elena's face, open, honest, offering him something he didn't think he deserved. For so long, he's believed that men like him don't get second chances at happiness, that the blood on his hands disqualifies him from anything pure or good. But here is Elena, knowing exactly what he is, and choosing him anyway. "I don't know how to do this," he admits. I don't know how to be someone's boyfriend? The word sounds foreign in his mouth. I don't know how to balance you and Sophia and my business without getting someone hurt. Then we'll figure it out together. Elena's thumb strokes across his knuckles. One day at a time, one challenge at a time. We'll set boundaries, we'll be careful, and we'll trust each other to communicate when something isn't working. What about Sophia? She's already attached to you. If this doesn't work out, then we handle it like adults. We explain that sometimes grown-ups care about each other but realize they're not right for each other long-term. She's smart enough to understand that. Elena pauses. But Dominic, I'm not going into this planning for it to fail. When I commit to something, I commit completely, even knowing what you know about me, especially knowing what I know about you. Elena's dark eyes hold his with unwavering certainty. You're not the man you were 5 years ago. Hell, you're not the man you were 3 months ago. You're changing, growing, becoming someone better. And I want to be part of that journey. If you'll let me. Dominic thinks about all the reasons he should say no. About the danger, the complications, the impossibility of mixing his world with hers. But he also thinks about how he feels when she walks into a room like the air is cleaner, like colors are brighter, like maybe redemption isn't as impossible as he's always believed. Okay, he says quietly. Let's try. But Elena, if at any point you feel unsafe, if anything about my world becomes too much, you tell me. No hesitation, no trying to be brave. Promise me. I promise. If you promise the same if the complications of having me in your life become too much, you'll be honest with me. No trying to protect me by pushing me away. Deal. They seal it with a kiss across the table, careful not to wake Sophia, but filled with promise and heat and the beginning of something neither of them can fully predict. When they pull apart, Elena is smiling, and Dominic feels something unfold in his chest that he hasn't felt since he was the age Sophia is now hope. 2 months pass in a delicate balance of building relationships while maintaining safety. Dominic and Elena date with the careful discretion of spies, private dinners at secure locations, quiet evenings at the penthouse after Sophia's bedtime, stolen moments in the margins of their complicated lives. To the outside world, Elena is still just Sophia's former caseworker who maintains a friendly relationship with the family. In reality, she's become something essential to both of them. Sophia adores having Elena around more often. The three of them fall into routines that feel startlingly domestic: Sunday morning breakfasts, where Elena teaches Sophia to make pancakes, movie nights where they argue good-naturedly about what to watch, homework sessions where Elena's teaching background proves invaluable, and in the quiet hours after Sophia goes to bed, Dominic and Elena explore the complicated territory of their attraction. They talk about everything: his childhood, her years in foster care, the choices that led them both to this moment. She doesn't flinch from the darker aspects of his business, but she also doesn't pretend to approve. Instead, she challenges him to think about what kind of life he wants to build, what kind of example he wants to set for Sophia, what kind of man he wants to become. I want to go legitimate, he tells her one evening, the confession surprising even himself. Not immediately. I can't just walk away from 25 years of connections without consequences, but gradually, transition the businesses that can be legitimate, divest from the ones that can't, build something Sophia could inherit without shame. That's a massive undertaking, Elena says, curled against him on the couch, her hand idly tracing patterns on his chest. It could take years, and your associates won't be happy about it. I know. But what's the alternative? Stay in this world forever? Wait until someone gets lucky and kills me? Let Sophia grow up watching me become more of a monster? He captures her hand, bringing it to his lips. You and Sophia make me want something different, something better. We're not your salvation, Dominic. We can be your motivation, but the work of changing has to come from you. I know, and it's terrifying, but less terrifying than losing either of you. Elena shifts to look at him directly. You're not going to lose us, but you are going to have to make hard choices. Some of your associates won't understand or accept the changes you're making. You'll lose money, probably lose influence. Are you prepared for that? If it means I get to keep you and Sophia safe? Yes, then I'll support you however I can. But Dominic, her expression grows serious, I need you to promise me something. No matter how hard things get, no matter what pressures you face, you don't go back to handling problems the old way. No violence, no intimidation, no solving problems with fear. Because Sophia is watching, and I'm watching, and we need to know that the man you're becoming is real, not just an act you're putting on. I promise. But Elena, If someone threatens you or Sophia, I can't promise I won't protect you with every resource I have. Protecting us isn't the same as using violence as your default solution. There's a difference between defense and offense. She softens, kissing him gently. I'm not asking you to become someone you're not. I'm asking you to become the best version of who you are. And I believe you can do that. Their kiss deepens, and for a while, words become unnecessary. But later, lying in comfortable silence, Dominic thinks about her words. The best version of who he is. He's spent so long being the worst version, the most feared, the most ruthless, the most untouchable, that he's forgotten other versions are possible. With Elena and Sophia, he's discovering that the best version of himself might be the one who makes pancakes on Sunday mornings, who helps with homework, who kisses a woman who sees his flaws and chooses him anyway. It's a version worth fighting for. The threat comes on a Tuesday, mundane in its delivery but devastating in its implications. Dominic is in a meeting with his accountants when Marcus enters with an expression that makes everyone else instinctively move toward exits. Boss, we have a problem. Someone's been asking questions about Elena. Where she lives, where she works, who she's close to. Professional inquiries, not random curiosity. Dominic is on his feet before Marcus finishes. Who? We don't know yet. The questions are coming through intermediaries, very careful not to leave a trail. But boss, Marcus's face is grim. Whoever it is knows she's more than just Sophia's caseworker. They know she's been here regularly. They know she matters to you. The news hits like a physical blow. His worst fear. Realized. Someone has identified Elena as a vulnerability and is gathering information to exploit it. Double her security. I want someone on her 24/7, even if she doesn't know they're there, and find out who's asking questions. I want names within 48 hours. After Marcus leaves, Dominic stands at his office window, watching the city and calculating risk. He could end this now, break things off with Elena, put distance between them, make it clear to anyone watching that she means nothing to him. It would keep her safe. It would eliminate the leverage. It would also destroy something precious and fragile and worth more than all his power combined. His phone buzzes with a text from Elena. Dinner tonight? I'll bring Thai food and beat you at Scrabble again. The casual domesticity of the message, the assumption that she's welcome in his home and his life, makes his decision for him. He's not walking away. He's not sacrificing what they're building to maintain the status quo of fear and isolation. Instead, he's going to do what he should have done from the beginning. Tell Elena the truth. Let her make an informed choice, and trust that she's strong enough to handle his world. Boss? His secretary's voice comes through the intercom. Antonio Vitale's attorney on line 2 says it's urgent. Dominic tenses. Vitale has been in federal custody for 2 months. His organization scattered, his assets frozen. There should be nothing urgent about anything related to him. He picks up the phone. What does Vitale want? Mr. Castellano. The attorney's voice is smooth, professional, hiding whatever threat he's been instructed to deliver. My client has information you might find valuable. Information about potential threats to people you care about. He's willing to share this information in exchange for certain considerations. What kind of considerations? A reduction in the evidence your organization provided to federal authorities. Perhaps some testimony that certain documents were forged or obtained illegally. So Vitale is trying to leverage threats against Elena and Sophia to force Dominic to sabotage his own case. It's bold, stupid, and exactly the kind of move a desperate man makes when he has nothing left to lose. Tell your client, Dominic says, his voice colder than Arctic ice, that if he or anyone associated with him goes anywhere near Elena Martinez or Sofia Castellano, there won't be enough pieces of him left to bury. Federal custody won't protect him. Witness protection won't protect him. Nothing will protect him from what I'll do. Mr. Castellano, threats against a federal prisoner aren't threats. They're promises. And your client knows me well enough to understand I keep my promises. Tell him to rot in prison. We're done here. He hangs up, but the threat lingers like smoke. Vitale doesn't have the resources to act on his threats from prison, but he could have made arrangements before his arrest. The questions Marcus mentioned could be coming from Vitale's remaining associates, which means Elena is in danger right now, and she doesn't even know it. Dominic makes a decision. He calls his most trusted security team, gives them explicit instructions about Elena's protection, and then he does something he's never done in 25 years of criminal operation. He cancels all his afternoon meetings to go personally ensure that the woman he's falling for doesn't become collateral damage in his war, because that's what it's become, he realizes. A war between the man he was and the man he's trying to become. Between the empire built on fear and the family built on love. Between isolation and connection. And this time, he's choosing connection, even if it means burning down everything else to keep it safe. When Elena arrives that evening for dinner, she finds not just Dominic and Sophia waiting, but also Marcus and 2 other bodyguards positioned discreetly around the penthouse. Her eyes take in the situation immediately, her social worker training recognizing the signs of heightened security. "What's wrong?" she asks, setting down the Thai food with careful deliberation. "Homework first," Dominic says to Sophia, who looks between the adults with worried eyes. "But, Sophia, please." She goes reluctantly, and once her door closes, Elena turns to Dominic with her arms crossed. "Talk. Now." He tells her everything, the questions being asked. Vitali's attempt at extortion, the reality that she's now a target because someone has figured out she matters to him. He watches her face go through expressions ranging from shock to fear to anger, settling finally on a determined calm that reminds him why he fell for her in the first place. "So, what's the plan?" she asks when he's finished. "The plan is you stay here until we neutralize the threat. Or if you prefer, we can move you to a secure location out of the city. Either way, you're not going back to your apartment until I know you're safe. And my job? My other cases? I can't just disappear, Dominic. I'll have someone collect your essentials. You can work remotely for a few days. Once we identify who's behind the inquiries and deal with them, you can go back to normal." Elena is quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, "I need to call my supervisor, explain that I have a family emergency, and I need to make sure my other kids are covered. Some of them don't have anyone else checking on them. Whatever you need." "But Elena," he reaches for her hands, relieved when she doesn't pull away. "I'm sorry. This is exactly what I was afraid of, that my world would put you in danger. You didn't put me in danger. Someone else made the choice to threaten me." Her dark eyes meet his steadily. "And I made the choice to be with you knowing this was a possibility. I'm not running, and I'm not blaming you. But we do need to have a serious conversation about long-term security and what our life looks like if this keeps happening." "Our life," he repeats, catching on the phrase. "Our life," Elena confirms. "Because despite the danger and the complications and the fact that dating you is absolutely insane, I'm in this, Dominic. I'm all in. So let's figure out how to make it work." Behind them, Sophia's door cracks open. "Is Elena staying over?" Her voice is small, worried. "For a few days, sweetheart," Elena answers before Dominic can. "Is that okay with you? Can we have a sleepover? With movies and popcorn? Like a real family?" Elena looks at Dominic, something shifting in her expression. A recognition that real family is exactly what they've become, whether they planned it or not. "Yeah, baby," Elena says softly, "like a real family." And watching Elena gather Sophia into a hug, seeing the 2 most important people in his life holding each other while his guards patrol the perimeter, Dominic realizes that this messy, complicated, dangerous attempt at building something good, this is worth every risk. This is worth everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.